Hello, I'm Ninja Greg, and you're watching The Ninja Greg Show. You know, I'm a big fan of the Nostalgia Critic, and I remember a while ago, back in his earlier years, he was talking about one of my favorite childhood memories, Nickelodeon. He went into explicit detail about Nicktoons like Rugrats and, much to his chagrin, Doug. Or if you don't know why, then you haven't been watching Nostalgia Critic nearly long enough. He also talked about the Nick coms like Clarissa Explains It All, The Adventures of Pete and Pete, Saturday Night Nick or Snick with shows like All That and Keenan and Kell. And although those were really great, he really couldn't tackle what I really liked a lot about Nickelodeon back in the 90s, the Nickelodeon game shows. Now, yeah, he had an episode about Double Dare, which was good and one of my favorites. But since he couldn't really go into a lot of detail about the Nickelodeon game shows at the time, mostly because he couldn't find high quality video of it, again at the time, I'm going to. I'm going to take this video to talk about my favorite Nickelodeon game shows from back in the day. Oh, back in the day, that makes me feel so old. From the 90s. My favorite Nickelodeon game shows from the 90s. First off, my absolute favorite one, Legends of the Hidden Temple. What can't you like about this show? It was a great competition, broken up into a few rounds, was well paced, and I like how the whole jungle and history and legends being all tied together in one great, really competitive show. And of course, it had D. Bradley Baker doing the voice of what was the best part of the show, next to the temple itself, Old Mech. And one of the best things about the show was also the music. It's hard not to watch an episode and not get completely sucked in by the music. I've watched several reruns of it, and I'll admit it, I hum along to every single theme that they play. The Crossing the Moat song, the Steps of Knowledge song, even the Temple Run song. I'm just kind of sitting there and bopping along to it. I can't help it. It's great music. And so, yeah, a really great show. Involves a lot of physical activity, which a lot of game shows really should do a lot more of, especially kids shows, encouraging kids to get out there and exercise, not just be glued to their smartphones all the live long day. But by that same contrast, another one of my favorite game shows, which actually kind of encouraged more video games, was Nick Arcade, which involved taking. It was two teams of two, and they would take turns moving a completely made up video game character across a digital grid, and uh, on the random spots on this grid there would be points, prizes, trivia questions, video challenges, which meant play one of the random video games they had that day and try to get a certain amount of points or achieve some certain objective within a certain amount of time, and you got to wager your own standing points in order for those video challenges. And of course, the team with the highest score at the end of the two rounds got to go into the video zone and take on three different video challenges, kind of like a virtual reality type of deal. And depending on how many of them they cleared, well, there's three, and if they cleared all three, there's these different tiers of prizes. Clear one, you get an okay prize. Clear two, you get an okay prize and a good prize. Clear three, you get all three prizes and a fantastic vacation, usually to the same place where they are at anyways, Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. But I really think that show and Legend of the Hidden Temple need to come back. Well, when Nick Arcade, the place where the video challenges were, that probably wouldn't be called like the video zone anymore. Nowadays it'd probably be like the digital zone and updated. But this would be a good opportunity to keep a lot of retro video games in the light and maybe even incorporate some new newer games, I would really love to see those shows come back, especially Legend of the Hidden Temple. But I can gush on and on about those shows. Moving on to another show that was much more physically active than Legends and Nick Arcade, but still very enjoyable, was the one show that dared to ask one question. Do you have it? Guts! Hosted by Mike O'Malley, Nickelodeon Guts was a small Olympic-ish kind of show where kids from across America would just go out and participate in extreme kind of sports competitions, like a sideways obstacle course called Zero G, slam dunk challenges, and they had this big pool for a couple of swimming challenges, like water challenges, including swimming and rafting and such. But the best part of any episode of Guts was the behemoth obstacle course known as the Crag. Now it's gone through several names and changes over the run of the show, but the only one I really seem to remember is the Aggro Crag. And the Aggro Crag would make or break your Guts run. If you were trailing behind, the Crag was your chance to get ahead. If you were ahead, the Crag was your chance to cement your position in the lead. Now, over time, Guts changed its format to become Global Guts and started accepting kid athletes from all over the world, which was great because at the end of an episode of Global Guts, well, regular Guts too, but after the kids got their medals and such, they would take these Guts flags and just do a final victory lap around the entire stadium. And when Global Guts came around, that changed to carrying their nation's flag across the stadium, which is great. Great showmanship, really competitive shows. I wouldn't mind seeing Guts come back either. So, yeah, those are my 3 favorite Nickelodeon game shows of all time. And I know there were more, but those really didn't make much of an impact on me as the ones I just talked about. So, what were some of your favorite Nickelodeon game shows from back in the day? If provided you're a 90s kid like me. And if not, have you seen reruns of the old shows and do you like them? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, then give it a like and maybe even a subscribe too. Anyways, I'm Ninja Greg, and you've been watching the Ninja Greg Show. I'll see you next time.